Now, dungeons, unfortunately, I have to say, I feel are not. I don't want to say that that dungeons are bad, but I don't think there's a lot of motivation for people to do dungeons. And not only that, but there's something which I will crucify every single MMO that comes out after World of Warcraft that does not implement a group finder system. Now, I believe there's still not a group finder system as of this recording. Am I right?
There's not
There's something that you can tag yourself as looking for group.
There's not an automated system.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that is just wrong. That is the reason why I stopped playing SWTOR, because there wasn't a group finding system. I mean, although since in Guild Wars 2, instances kind of play a minor role, it's not such a big deal. But instances, as you guys are probably aware, those who know me from my World of Warcraft days, instances are something that I really enjoy doing. I enjoy grouping up with other people and being presented with a set of challenges that will require like really organized team play. And what happens is, if you don't have an automated system to automatically look for players and group them together, it's sometimes hard to kind of convince another player, hey, you want to come over here and do this instance, and the player might be like there for 5 minutes, and in the meantime you're calling another 4 players or 3 players or whatever, and the other player like, oh no, I'm bored, I'm gonna go do something else. He goes away, and then you find 2 more players, and then you can't find more. Those things are problematic, which is why an automated system solves all that. And that is something, for all the criticism that I've given to World of Warcraft, that is something that I haven't seen anyone do better yet. The group finder in World of Warcraft is awesome. You just go there, you click the thing, you say, I'm a tank, and the thing automatically puts you in queue to go and do an instance. And I think that is a perfect system, and all MMOs need to kind of implement that kind of system. This is my opinion, though.
I don't think Guild Wars 2 would have the I'm a tank option. What if they wanted to be?
Yeah, you don't need those options in Guild Wars 2. In Guild Wars 2, you just need, I want to go to this instance. Boom, done. That's
We should
really
have
all you need.
how well can you dodge option.
How would you consider yourself in dodging? Average, above average, below average. Because dodging is, in fact, very important, especially in instances. Otherwise, you will just get brutally murdered like we got the first time we went to an instance. Even though some of us were like a lot higher level than the instance, there were so many deaths. I thought this looked like when we started doing heroics the first time in World of Warcraft. It was in the Burning Crusade, and there were so many people dying because nobody knew how to do heroic instances properly, and it was a lot of fun. But yeah, the main issue is, again, the whole thing about managing the group and finding people to join a group. That thing can be a bit of a pain in the ass, in my opinion. I would much rather have an automated system for that. But again, the game has instances. If you have the patience to recruit a group and get a group to go and clear it, I mean, that's obviously the whole point of having guilds, having people that usually group up with you and whatnot. So yeah, there's instances, and in those instances you will usually experience, first, if you go into story mode, you will experience the story of Destiny's Edge, which is mostly related to lore of the game. There is this big guild called, not big, it's 5-6 members, whatever, however many number of races there are, and you get to explore their storyline and see what happened with them.
It's also easier.
Yeah, it's also easier. And then there's the explorable mode, which is when you go into that instance just to get loot, and the objectives are vastly different. The dungeon itself almost seems different, like when we went into explorable mode. Ascalon, remember that?
Yeah, it's very different.
The dungeon itself was completely different, so...
You also get an option, well, paths you can take as well.
Yeah, there's several paths that you can take. There's just a lot of fun to be had in dungeons. Again, I just wish they would implement a dungeon finder system, and dungeons would be a lot more used, I believe, anyways. Also, something else that you mentioned that I thought was important is the roles. We haven't really talked about roles, and there is no Holy Trinity in Guild Wars 2. There's no tanks, there's no healers, there's no DPS. Everyone is pretty much their own healer, their own buffer, their own damage dealer. I mean, some classes are better at some things than others, but there's no pure damage dealer spec. There's no pure tank spec, so to speak. You can make a character that's tankier, but it doesn't make him a tank because there's no aggro system.
Yeah. There's a awkward aggro system. There's not one like hit it a lot and it will attack you system.
Yeah, I think maybe they're like, oh, this guy seems that he did a little bit of damage here. Let's punish him for it. I don't know. It's weird. It seems that they go at it random. So
I can
mostly,
tell you what little I know of the system if you want.
Go for it.
Basically, if you get a common system is go for the guy with the lowest health. So if you're like an elementalist, a thief, or even a guardian, because they actually have low base health, you are likely to be targeted. If you get downed, then you are very high up on the list. And if you're reviving, you're also high up on the list.
That's interesting.
That's what I know of it.
That is very interesting. So as you can see, even with what seems like a random system, some patterns will begin to emerge. But as you can see, there's no reliable way to ensure aggro, unless you want to make a warrior that's really low on vitality and with really high defenses. But I don't think that's going to work so well. The boss will just bitch slap you once and kill you.
And there's occasionally I hate this one person guy, and the boss will just chase that person forever.
Oh yeah, I've seen that happen actually in just in random questing.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that happen quite a bit. So what do you think about the fact that there's no Holy Trinity?
I think it's fine. I don't particularly mind as long as it works out for the game. They can do whatever they like.
I mean, I like the fact that there's no Holy Trinity, even though I have to admit there was a little bit of a confusion when we were doing the instance, because, I mean, it does feel a little bit random at times, but I don't know, I guess it just takes a little bit more of practice. I only done one instance once, because again, there's no dungeon finder. If there was a dungeon finder, I'm pretty sure I would have done that instance 10 times by now, because I just don't have any people skills. I hate everyone and everything. So when I go to group up, I just want to insult them. It's like, hey, I hate you. Now come play with me. No, doesn't usually work out. It's not a good motivator. But yeah, there's no Holy Trinity, and I think that's actually kind of a good thing, but it does generate a little bit of confusion sometimes, even to me, because I mean, I remember when we were in that dungeon, I was saying, we got 2 warriors and none of you is a goddamn tank. And I remember that I had all my skills were like for all my skills were like for healing. Because I had the guardian, I had all healing skills. But it's pretty useless, so to speak, because they had pretty high cooldowns. So you can't just constantly heal people, even though you can have only healing skills. The cooldowns will not allow you to reliably keep healing people. So it's just people have to use their own healing skills, their dodges, and everything else in their power in order to survive. And there's nothing one particular character chock full of heals can do to save them. It just doesn't work that way, which is a good thing. It kind of keeps everyone on their toes, and it's not just like, oh, I'm DPS, I'm just going to sit back here, shoot my rifle, not going to do anything. No, because the boss is going to come up to you, smash your face, and it's going to come out through your ass. It's not going to be pleasing.
Different classes have different methods of supporting other players. It's not all about fighting for yourself.
Yeah, it's not all about fighting for yourself. There's also support, like for instance with my Guardian, I would usually have that ball that I would throw, and then it explodes and it damages and heals. And then I also had the thing I would put on the ground, make everyone run faster. There's several support spells, but there's no dedicated healer that can keep everyone up, so to speak. And there's no dedicated tank that's going to reliably keep a boss on top of him at all times.
Yep.
Stuff just doesn't work that way. But it's still a good system. I just think, again, we just need a group finder so that those instances start getting run more effectively, so to speak, and more often.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other thing we're going to talk about is world versus world versus world.
What about dungeon difficulty?
Dungeon difficulty?
We didn't touch on that.
Ooh. I don't know what you're talking about, though.
Well, how difficult it is compared to other MMOs, I suppose.
That's the thing, though. I don't have a good idea of the difficulty because, I mean, let's face it. When we were there, I mean, for starters, we had guns. That's obviously a huge disadvantage. Then we had Nacho, which is another big disadvantage. And then on top of it, we had nice BBQ running the game at 5 frames a second in his year 2000 laptop. I mean, let's be honest here. We did not have the best group setup, so to speak.
Yeah.
No, I mean I'm bashing on other people, but the fact of the matter is, I think we did not have enough practice, so I can't judge the difficulty of the instance. We died a lot, if that's a difficulty indicator. I mean, we wiped almost, if not in every single boss fight.
We did quite well on that spider, though. Apparently, that's a difficult fight.
The spider.
The giant spider with all
We
the tiny.
did quite well. We died what, 6 times?
Yes, but apparently it's difficult, so we did well.
I don't think we did that well. I remember dying in the traps before. Like, as you're running back to the boss, the traps are still in place, and you will die in the traps before you actually get to the boss.
Well,
So, I mean, here's the thing. Again, I'm not sure how hard it is, and I can't say that they're harder. Let's just say, for someone who goes there the first time, expect to die a lot, unless you're really, really experienced. What I would say is that they take a lot of practice in order to reliably, just go in there and kind of do it like a World of Warcraft instance. It takes a lot of practice. It's not just go in there and it's a loot pinata fest. Doesn't work like that.
there's a problem with it, though, because some of them are obviously going to be harder, you could say, or more unfair, if you like, than others. So it's basically just created these select dungeons that people only ever do, and that's all you'll ever find a group for if you, well, quickly. You'll still find a group for the other ones, just a lot more slowly, by going looking for
Again,
group COF.
Group finder. See,
Yes, that would solve
that's
the problem.
thing.
Well, sort of solve the problem.
That's something they really need to work on as a group finder. And also something that I wanted to say is that regarding difficulty of the dungeons themselves, the storyline versions are a lot easier than the explorable versions. That much I could say. Because, I mean, we died a lot in the storyline version, but in the other one, we died as much as we had died in the storyline full run. We died just getting to the first boss. We died the same amount of time. So the explorable versions are considerably harder than the other ones.
Yeah.
But apart from that, again, we need more experience in order to talk about the difficulty of dungeons, so we're not really going to get into too much of that. Go and find out for yourself. So now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about world versus world versus world. Now, I haven't done a lot of this. I believe you've probably done a lot more than I have, but usually world versus world consists of 4 maps, if I'm correct.
Yes.
There's 4 different maps that you can queue to. 3 of the maps will refer to each of the servers in
The home
that.
worlds.
The what?
The home worlds, basically.
Yeah, each of the maps is for your home world, as well as the other 2 home worlds that are currently battling in the world versus world. How long before they reset the groups?
It's currently weekly.
So every week there's a different group, basically.
Yes. They either were considering or are currently considering moving it up to 2 weeks.
Yeah, basically what happens is world versus world consists of, you get paired up with 2 other servers, so there's 3 servers, in constant conflict throughout a week. And what happens is there's these 3 home worlds, so to speak, which is 1 for your server and 2 for the other servers. And apart from that, there's one, let's say, neutral battleground, which is called the Eternal Battleground, right?
Yeah.
There's the Eternal Battlegrounds, and then the home of each of the servers that you're fighting in. And each of these maps will have structures like castles and mines and supply zones and whatnot. And the objective is basically capture points. You want to capture and hold as many of the structures in the map as possible. Now, to this effect, these are fortified structures. So you can't just go up to, with, let's say, 10 players up against the door, start bashing it until you knock it down. It is possible,
Yeah.
but it's going to take you a while.
Yeah.
A long, long while. So ideally, what you do is usually you go collect resources off somewhere into the map. Then, I don't know how, but you're supposed to buy blueprints or something.
Yeah.
I never really created a siege engine, but throughout the combination of blueprints and supplies, you can create siege weapons like battering rams and what else? You can create catapults, I believe.
Battering rams, catapults, arrow
Ballistas.
carts, ballistas,
Yes, that's ballistas.
trebuchets, and
Trebuchets.
golems.
Golems?
Yes.
Haven't seen those yet.
The highest tier siege weapon is a golem. It's basically well, it is a mobile siege engine. It takes down doors quite quickly, not quite as fast as a battering ram, but it does decent and it can move from point to point. And it has lots of health.
So there you go. And usually you will have to use siege weapons in order to bring down doors. Once you break down a door, you will also have to storm the castle and get to the ruler of the castle, right? Which is an NPC usually, and kill it. And obviously there's going to be players there from the faction that controls that point. They're going to be defending that particular zone. And obviously they're going to try and prevent you from capturing. So it takes quite a bit of strategy management in order to actually capture one of these points. It's not just zerg it down, because you can zerg it down, all of a sudden you're getting flanked by another server and you can get killed rather easily. Also important to mention is that throughout all of these battlegrounds type things and world versus world, there's also skill points, vistas, points of interest that you will need to capture if you're going for that whole completionist thing.
Yeah.
So, and obviously it's going to force players to do a constant struggle, because imagine you're trying to capture a vista that's in a particular structure and you don't control that structure. You can only really get that vista when your server controls that structure.
Yep.
Now, world versus world is pretty much 24/7, right? Never stops.
It is 24/7, yeah.
So it never stops. So imagine you can fight all night long, grab all the holes and structures and whatnot, and you can come back the next morning and everything's in shambles and you have to fight your way back through it again. So it is a constant struggle, week-long, and usually at the end of the week what happens is, according to your performance, I believe, they will base you off against similar performing servers, so that there's always kind of a balanced experience. Now, at the start, I'm pretty sure this wasn't working very well, because I remember us getting completely owned by the French. We had this French server that basically owned like everyone. Like our server wouldn't even appear in the pie chart, in the world versus world pie chart, so to speak. There's a pie chart that kind of tells you how much you're controlling in world versus world, which is pretty cool. It kind of keeps the game fresh. I think it's a very nice way to do PvP.
Yeah.
And what happens is, if you take your character there, you can go there with a level 1 character, and they will level you up to level 80. The thing is, you will not get the traits of a level 80 character.
Or the gear.
Or the gear. So the level 80 characters are still going to be more powerful, but they're not going to exactly be one-shotting you. That's the whole point of the system. So we did a lot of world versus world, and there's a lot of fun to be had in world versus world as well. So that is also another source of experience if you don't feel like...
More about it?
What?
Can I talk a bit more about it?
Go for it.
Okay. In world versus world, I know you said it's tactical, but currently, right now, it's about zerging from one point to another. And basically, you keep zerging until you get killed. And
it's like I'm selling this amazing tactical experience of Exodus. No, just grab a bunch of people, zerg the shit out of everything. Done.
It's very fun, and especially a good source for karma and experience, and a little bit for money. But currently, what it's like is you just join the zerg, take down a keep. You can defend a keep, but it's quite rare to do it against a massive zerg. If they break down the doors, they've pretty much taken it, so you just jump off the walls and run away.
I haven't done World vs. World in a while, so I'm not up to date and all that. But I remember us, I mean, we did a pretty good tactical strike the other time, don't you remember? Like, the Frenchies were owning everything, and all of a sudden, we go all the way across the map, like right next to their base, and we capture this supply section.
Yeah.
And they're like, what the fuck?
You basically do guerrilla tactics when you're...
Yeah, we were doing guerrilla tactics. And we were doing awesome until all of a sudden a big zerg of like 30 people or something came up. There was like 5 or 6 of us maybe, and we were doing all these guerrilla tactics. All of a sudden, like a 30 people zerg just shows up, and we're like, oh, everyone died except for me because I was running really fast.
Yeah. The current problems with World War are night capping, as you mentioned before. Cause
people log in like really late at night and just ninja cap everything.
Yeah. The biggest problem seems to be with the French servers. People are saying it's because French Canadians are on the French servers and thus are on a different timeline, so they all log in after work or something and happily take everything. But now people are saying that's not what's happening, and the French are just have no lives apparently.
Well,
But
we can't really single out the French. I mean, I'm going to be called a racist pretty soon here.
well, this is because the top server by a large margin, everyone else is fairly close, but the top server by a large margin is the French, and they just nightcap all the time and seem to always hold everything.
So those were the guys that beat the crap out of us when we were in Aurora Glade.
It could be, but it's quite common among French servers for the nightcapping. Not that I'm saying they only do it with the server that we're on Desolation did it to Gunner's Hold, then we had it done to us the next time, and we cried about it apparently.
They should just disable World versus World at night. It's like, it's too late. You people need to go to bed now. I mean, you guys need to lead some healthy lives. Stop friggin' night capping.
Yeah, what about the people who, have different work times? Oh, I'm sorry, you're not allowed to play World versus World. All these other people are asleep. But the next big problem is it can take a while for a big Zerg to load. So you're just happily running across the road. Well, you and your somewhat small Zerg, capping points, and suddenly you're dead. And about 3 seconds later, there's a massive army around you that you didn't see before.
Yeah, that I just file under get a better computer.
No, it's not people's computers. It's actually the
It's just the net
servers
code
not
then?
loading them. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. A little bit of optimization needed there, ArenaNet. Get on it. Because they're watching this show. I mean, let's be honest. So that's World versus World. Anything else you wanted to add?
Despite the problems, it's very fun.
Yeah.
That's about it.
It is very, very, very fun. As a matter of fact, that's something that I have to say about Guild Wars 2 is that I think that what Guild Wars 2 does, and a lot of MMOs don't, is that Guild Wars 2 respects your time. Like, you play Guild Wars 2, and for the time you're playing Guild Wars 2, you can usually get enjoyment and progression.
Yeah.
You don't usually have to spend time grinding. You can, if that's your thing, if you want to grind out, complete all the zones, and I know that that's what I tend to do, because I'm just poorly taught by other MMOs, but you can grind the hell out of the game if you want, but you don't have to. There's no necessity to grind. You can just go do fun stuff all the time.
There is an exception. If you want a legendary weapon, and that's a massive grind.
Okay, when you get to level 80, you'll have to grind a little bit.
Only if you want a legendary weapon. Exotics are somewhat easy to get as long as you save up the money, but legendary weapons are incredibly expensive and quite a lot of materials if you want to make them.
Okay. Now, the other thing we're going to be talking about is actually something that neither me or Vex are very experienced in, but it is Mists PvP. I don't even know the correct name of this. What's the name of that location?
I think it's just Heart of the Mists.
Yeah, that's it. Heart of the Mists. And that is a different type of PvP that you can do, different from World versus World. Now, in World versus World, you will take your PvE character to a specific location and play with that with your character, and you can gain levels, and you can gain gold and karma and all kinds of stuff that you can then use to upgrade your PvE equipment and skills and whatnot. Now, on... Yes?
Oh, sorry. Never mind. Continue.
Now, on the Heart of the Mists, it's a different thing because it is not... it's almost like it's a separate character. Like, you create a human warrior, but when you go into Heart of the Mists, your human warrior is not the same warrior that you have in your PvE, because you will have a complete set of PvP gear, you will have a complete set of skills, traits, and whatnot, and basically you will be on even footing as everyone else that's in Heart of Mists. You can customize your traits, you can respec, you can do whatever you want, and you can also get whatever weapons you want, whatever weapon class, because usually the rewards for PvP, it seems, is mostly aesthetics.
Yes.
Like, you can get a really cool looking axe as you level up through PvPing in the Heart of Mists, or you can get a really cool looking shield, but you start with really... Hello?
I can't
hear
hear
me?
you. Oh, I can hear you now.
Oh, we had a little bit of an internet lag there. Don't know what
Strange.
happened. Anyways, in Heart of the Mist, basically most of your upgrades will be aesthetic upgrades because when you start out, you're going to have a bland-looking set of gear, like some chainmail set, you know, like the most basic-looking set in the game, a wooden shield, but the stats is going to be the same as every single other player gets in the Heart of the Mists. Am I correct?
Yes.
And so basically what you're working towards is a looking cooler. But this is also obviously the most competitive aspect in Guild Wars because everyone is at the same footing. Nobody is higher level with better gear. This is for those extremely competitive players that want to have the most absolute balance, and it's all battleground style matches, I believe, right?
Sorry. Yeah, basically, it's basically a capture point system. From what I've played, there's been only 3 capture points. Generally, one on the opponent's side, one on your side, one somewhere near the middle. And you gain points by killing people and capturing points and holding them.
So basically, it kind of reminds me of a Wrathy Basin in World of Warcraft kind of thing.
Yes.
It's that kind of play style that you can expect from Heart of the Mist. Is there an arena type setting, do you know?
What do you mean by arena? Oh, sorry, of course.
Just like 3v3, 4v4, something like that?
As far as I know, there isn't. There could be, but not that I know about.
Yeah, exactly. We're not very knowledgeable about Mist PvP because we spend most of our time doing PvE and world versus world versus world. But basically, Mist PvP is the most competitive side of Guild Wars 2. It is like, if you want to, I believe that they're probably going to make, if they haven't already, that's where they're probably going to host tournaments and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because it is definitely the most balanced location in the game when it comes to PvP.
I believe they're hoping to make it an e-sport.
Well, Guild Wars 1 was pretty much an esport, even though it didn't really reach the levels of StarCraft 2. And I'm pretty sure that Guild Wars 2 can get there as well. I think they do need to work a little bit still on animations and delays for skills, because some skills, sometimes you still get a little bit of lag in certain skills, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of stuff when it comes to esports is a little bit problematic, and it is still there in Guild Wars 2, which is probably kind of why they haven't made a big fuss about Heart of the Mist PvP in the esports community. But I think it's definitely doable, and this is the section for competitive play pretty much. It's just PvP, battleground style all the time, everyone on equal footing, and everything you're working towards is looking cooler.
Yep.
As far as you can tell, anyways.
Yeah.
If we're wrong, we have to apologize and make sure to correct us in the comments below.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that this game has over the other MMOs is obviously it does not have a monthly fee.
Woo.
Which is, you didn't sound excited at all, but that's actually a really good thing. That, I mean, if it did have a monthly fee, I'm not sure if I would be playing it, because I am not going to be dedicating that much time to MMOs these days. I've been playing a lot of other stuff, and I don't ever want to get to the point where I got into World of Warcraft that I played it to the exclusivity of everything else. And I don't regret playing World of Warcraft, I regret playing it to the exclusivity of everything else, because I've missed out on a lot of really cool stuff, and that kind of annoyed me. And with Guild Wars, it doesn't really ask you for that type of commitment. It's like, once you buy the game once, you can pretty much play forever, and then they give you a whole suite of services that you can purchase with real money. Now, one of those services is character slots. You begin with 5, I believe?
Yes.
You begin with 5, and Vex already had to purchase another one because he is an alcoholic. He wants to make every single class, every single race, everything.
I should point out, you're not buying it with real money, you're buying it with gems.
Oh yeah, you're buying it with gems, and you can purchase gems with real money, but you can also exchange in-game gold for gems.
And that's what I did.
Yeah, so basically that means that everything that you can buy with real money, you can also buy with in-game gold. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bank slots, bag slots, cosmetic items, all with gems that you can get from gold.
And also, it is important to notice that there's not really items that they sell on the microtransaction shop that give you an unfair in-game advantage, so to speak. I mean, there's experience boosts and karma boosts, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So there's all kinds of boosts that you can buy, but it's not like, oh, I'm going to buy this awesome plus 100 weapon of ownage. You're not going to get any of that. It's just usually cosmetic stuff or convenience stuff that will allow you to level up a little bit faster or to get karma points a little bit faster for a limited amount of time. Those kinds of things you can buy from the store, as well as aesthetic stuff like sunglasses and other things.
I don't even think there's a gold booster.
There's not even a gold booster? That's interesting. Yeah, it kind of makes sense, because then you could just maybe find some kind of an infinite loop.
It does make it unfair. There is, I think, a swiftness thing, which gives you a very small advantage over other people, but not much.
Lets you run faster?
Yeah.
Does that work in World versus World?
I'm not sure, but it might. But it basically gives you a 30% speed boost for half an hour.
But as you guys can see, these are the things that you can buy through microtransactions. I don't think there's anything game-breaking there, and obviously there's no monthly fee, which is a clear-cut advantage in my book, because I would not be playing it if it had a monthly fee, most likely. Now, at the end of all this, because this is... actually, before we go into this, let's talk a little bit about replayability, because you brought this point up, Vex, so go ahead.
Well, how do you want us to start?
Well, replayability, we want to talk about how many times you can kind of replay the game, so to speak, without getting bored by it. How much replayability value does it have?
Well, I think there's quite a lot. Obviously, there's the easy part of just starting with a different race each time and a different class, because that makes it very new, a new starting area.
So it gives you a new starting area, it gives you probably new skills, since you're going to take a different race. It gives you new zones to explore, because it takes a while until the races actually encounter each other in different areas, unless you manually travel to those areas by choice.
There's two different areas you can go to. There's like the north part and the south part. Both of them have like 70 to 80 areas and upwards. It's only when you get to the final 2 or 3 areas that everyone ends up at.
So yeah, there's quite a bit of replayability value as in any MMO. We're talking about PvE here because obviously if we go into PvP territory, everybody knows that replayability basically never ends. So in PvE, there's a lot of replayability value in this particular game, obviously, because you can keep on starting with different races, classes, get a different experience each time, or even with the same class, even with the same race, if you really appreciate your storyline, and get a little bit different storyline on your next playthrough. So there's definitely replayability value.
It also helps that everything is pretty.
Yes. Yeah, the game is very, very good looking in my opinion. It has a good engine. I'm not even sure. It's not Unreal Engine, I'm pretty sure.
No, certainly not.
It's their own engine.
I think it's their own, yeah.
And it looks pretty good. The vistas it's actually one of the reasons why I like doing vistas. I actually watch most of the vistas, sometimes more than once, because it is a gorgeous looking map, and they have a lot of cool landmarks. And especially for Guild Wars 1 players, when you start listening to the musics, the music itself, the soundtrack of the game, a lot of the music will bring you back memories from Guild Wars 1. I mean, just the login screen music almost brought tears to my eyes when I heard it in the beta. I'm not even kidding, because I really enjoyed Guild Wars 1 as well. And at the end of all this comes a question that a lot of people have been posing to me, which is it worth it? Is the game worth it? Is it worth the investment, both monetary and in time? And in my opinion, it is, but this is my opinion, my personal opinion, because I was already expecting for this game. I think it does a lot of things right, especially for me. One of the things that I like is the fact it does not swamp you with quests, which is something that a lot of other games do. And like, let's say, sometimes you will get so swamped with quests that you will not be able to play for 2 or 3 days, and then you get back into the game and you're like, whoa, I gotta go where? Gotta do what? There's like 100 things to do here, god damn it.
Yeah.
and that is annoying. And in Guild Wars 2, it's just you just got to keep track of one quest, and the rest is just do whatever you want. And that to me is just something that I really, really enjoyed, as well as the dynamic events, which kind of keep things fresh most of the time. Like you can go through an area twice and get different events depending on luck, but you can go through the same area twice and get different events, which is something that I find really, really cool. How about to you, Vex? Do you think it's worth it?
Monetarily, I don't see, if, as long as you like MMOs, of course, I don't see why you wouldn't think it's worth it. You get a ton of fun and time out of it. Time, well, I suppose that's down to yourself, really. How much time do you have?
But the thing is, I mean, the game does not. It's not like, here's the thing. When I get into an MMO that requests a monthly fee from me, I usually feel pressured.
Yeah.
It's like if I'm playing another game, I'm like, oh, it's like I'm cheating on my main game that I'm paying for every month. You know, that's the thing. You kind of feel a pressure to play. Whereas Guild Wars 2, there's no pressure. You're just like, oh, today I feel like playing Guild Wars 2, I'm going to play it. Today I feel like playing Borderlands 2, I'm going to play it. Today I feel like playing Torchlight 2. But usually for me, that's usually just, oh, today I feel like playing Dark Souls.
Yeah, there's definitely no pressure to play it, but you could still...
There's still peer pressure.
If I'm trying to word this correctly, if you don't have much time on your hands, then I suppose it's not quite worth it unless you enjoy short bursts of it.
Well, that's the thing. Like I said, the game. I feel the game respects your time.
Yeah.
So like you can get in for half an hour, in half-an-hour sessions, and get a lot of stuff done. Whereas in other MMOs, if you get in for half an hour, it's like, oh, but you got a raid. It's got to be like a 4-hour investment here. Oh, maybe not.
You could say the same thing about instances. They do take time.
Instances take time, for sure. We took, what, 1 hour? And the first time we went to Ascalon?
Yeah, and we didn't even get that far.
No, I mean the storyline we finished.
Yeah.
The storyline we finished. But the other one, we spent like maybe 20 to 30 minutes, and we only killed one boss.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end of the day, in my opinion, the game is definitely worth it, and this has been a really in-depth overview, and my throat is so dry that I can barely breathe anymore.
Pleasant.
So, yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope this clears up a lot of the questions that have been popping up throughout my channel about Guild Wars 2. Anything you want to add, Vex?
Not really, I don't think.
Okay, this has been Rurikhan and Vextrinity. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you guys in the next one.
Bye-bye.